Hi all! This is my final and last video of going over comic book adaptations for the Odyssey. This one is made by Marvel. It was written in 1977 and published. This is the 18th issue. So this is really old. Gosh, it smells delicious. I love books. I'm sorry, that was weird. This one is only 52 pages long, and it glosses over the beginning with Telemachus and Penelope, and doesn't really feature Athena all that much, and she's the one kind of driving the story forward and trying to help Odysseus get home. So it kind of makes it seem like he's the agent bringing himself forward and getting himself places, which isn't really the case. There is an introduction that talks about who Homer is and a little bit about what we know of him and his two epics, the Odyssey and the Iliad. It brings about the question of who is the author and when and how and why, but they don't really seem to care too much about Homer himself as much as the stories that he's written. It starts off with him talking with Agamemnon before Agamemnon goes home and gets murdered by his wife Clytemnestra. And then he sets sail for home without giving an offering to Zeus and the gods for their success in Troy. He just wants to go home. So it's kind of implied that that's the reason why his adventures went wrong, was because he did not make an offering to the god, at least in this adaptation specifically. The artwork is very muted colors. That could also be to the age. The paper is like newspaper print, kind of. It is, I believe that this is the first issue, the first version, so this is not a reprint. The Cyclops is considered to be dumb. His text in here is kind of fragmented, as you would imagine someone who doesn't know how to speak very well is. And of course he's got a horn on his head. He looks like a one-eyed unicorn with arms and legs and muscles and lots of hair. So he's animalized, that's for sure. And definitely does not resemble Poseidon at all. Of course, that's one of the first stories, and it gets at least 6 pages of panels. So that's how important the Cyclops story seems to be for these adaptations. Unlike the other one, he is facing the front and he's about to eat the men, so the Cyclops tends to be like the biggest part of the stories, probably due to Odysseus's wit in the story. So from the artwork you can see that Odysseus and the other characters typically tend to be very scantily clothed. Here's Kirky and her, she's weaving at the loom and singing and draws them in. Her home is kind of like a cave of trees, or a cave inside of trees. And she's very much depicted as a witch, kind of drawn in what I think looks more like a vampire, kind of what we typically understand to be the look of a vampire. So there's that supernatural feel around her. And then once they get to the dead, or try to talk to the people in Hades, the comic gets kind of dark and muted in colors. Another big part is the sirens. Actually, we're on the right page. Ta-da! The sirens look like mermaids, so they're basic, not special. They just sing and draw sailors to their death like normal. They're not special. And then Scylla and Charybdis, where his men get eaten. It's glorious. A whole panel for the whirlpool. overall, considering how important Penelope, Telemachus, and Athena are in the story, this is the first time that Athena shows up, and this is after Odysseus has actually landed on his island, Ithaca. And it's disappointing, since they're such important characters in the story, that they would focus on Odysseus only. Most of the characters are fair-haired and such, except for Odysseus himself, who has red hair, which is interesting because the Greeks considered red hair kind of to be a non-desirable attribute. So I'm not sure if the comic book writers or illustrators knew that, but that's one important thing to keep in mind. And then this is Odysseus getting revenge, finally. It doesn't draw you to the original book, it kind of just leaves it as it is, so you're able to decide for yourself whether you want to read the source text and learn more about Homer yourself. So overall, considering the time period that it was written in, it's very well written and probably much better than the Classics Illustrated, but by far the graphic novel one is my favorite. Anyways, thank you for watching and have a good day.